A woman accidentally saw her husband's chat history. He was messaging the same woman every night. Her keen intuition made her feel a bit uneasy. Then she discovered a video. At that moment, she was completely shocked. She never imagined her husband would betray her. Just then, she heard the sound of the door opening outside. It was her husband returning home. He had not only prepared flowers, but also enthusiastically presented her with an exquisite necklace. However, he failed to notice that his wife's face was already filled with weariness. The next day, he took out their wedding video. Listening to the vows her husband had once made to her, Sarah felt terrible inside. To punish this unfaithful man, Sarah carefully devised a revenge plan. She pretended to be a gentle and attentive wife and invited her husband on a trip together. Taking advantage of a beautiful scenic spot along the way, Sarah began using photography as an excuse to slowly lure John to the edge of a cliff. When her husband was captivated by the beautiful scenery, Sarah quietly raised her arm. But voices from behind unexpectedly interrupted Sarah's carefully designed plot. Seeing her husband eagerly walk over to help, she realized this opportunity was lost. But Sarah would not give up just yet, because the journey had only just begun. Looking at her sleeping husband, Sarah started plotting again. She thought about attacking him from behind when he wasn't paying attention, but she abandoned this plan. If she created an accident while camping and lured a black bear into the tent, the chances of success might be high. But an even more convenient approach would be while John was driving. However, this was too risky. She might lose her own life in the process. The next day, Sarah examined their itinerary and finally discovered an opportunity. When no one was paying attention, she quietly took out a knife she had prepared in advance and sabotaged her husband's safety harness. When everyone began boarding the boat, Sarah had already positioned herself strategically. Watching her husband put his foot in, she finally felt relieved. Before long, people on the boat paddled downstream, and the river gradually became turbulent. Sarah knew that in such jolting conditions, the safety harness would quickly lose support. At that point, even experienced people would be thrown into the water, and under such circumstances, no one would risk attempting a rescue. Then a huge wave suddenly struck. As Sarah had anticipated, John was pushed into the water, but she hadn't expected her husband to swim back up. Seeing him desperately calling for help in the water, Sarah had no choice but to extend a helping hand. However, at that moment, another huge wave hit, and Sarah fell into the river. The raging waters immediately swept her away. Just when Sarah was in despair and helpless unexpectedly, her husband reached out and saved her. To thank John for saving her life, Sarah appeared very happy that night. But this didn't mean she would stop her revenge plan.